Alright, so welcome back to those who've been here before. If you're new, welcome as well. Today I thought I'd take a little time and go through the A.T.L.S Geo, how it works, um, how effective it is. As you can see, I've actually got a golem on here as well. I'm running around at an M2 right now because I was doing a little comparison with different things on how they work. But I just happened to find that on one of the moons of Pyro, I was actually able to see the gems and scan them and actually crack them. So we'll take a look and see how this works. Now, I should preface this with the Geo deal does still have a few issues. Um, and it could just be something that's limited. It's just happening to me today. I don't know. Um, but I have noticed on occasion where I've had trouble getting the box that comes with it to register as being empty when you take the gems out of it. I did pick up extra gems or extra boxes rather, so it's not really an issue for me. But I'll go through some of that during the video here. As you can see, pretty much just like rock mining, basically point the laser, pull the trigger, charge it up, break it. Um, Unlike the rock, you don't have that arm swinging around, so it is a little more forgiving, a little easier to use. Um, and I gotta say, all in all, so far I'm kind of liking the Geo. Uh, for those of you with smaller ships, it will actually fit in a base cutter. I haven't tried it in the Scout. Um, I haven't tried it in many of the other small ships either, but I do know for sure that it'll fit in the cutter with a 1 SCU crate as well. So you can carry both, which means you can pretty much go out for quite a while geo mining and just return when you're done. So, something to be said for that. All right. Um, as you can tell, it's only got a 10 CSCU cargo container. I believe it's pretty much smaller than a 1/8 SCU box, significantly. Um, so you are going to have to empty it out more frequently. This one patch of rocks will probably require me to empty it out at least 3 or 4 times. But again, since you can put it in a 1 SCU crate, that works. A couple other things I learned on it was it doesn't always show empty. And when I actually emptied the box that comes with it inside the crate, it didn't come back to empty. I had to change it out, but you'll see that as we go along. I'll show you all of that and how it worked and how I got around it. Nice thing about it is, so let's look at some of the positives here while I'm cracking these rocks. Some of the positives, obviously, it fits in smaller ships. So that's a big plus right there, especially for people just starting out. I think you can get the Geo for like 45 on the store, something like that. Let me look here real quick while we're cracking rocks. Let's see. Standalone ships on the site. Geo. Yes. Warbond right now you can get it for 40. The A.T.L.S Geo without Warbond does 45. Just in comparison, the Rock is 55, and obviously you can't get a Warbond right now. Obviously, the Warbond comes with lifetime insurance, so you never have to worry about losing it. You can buy them in game at some point, but not yet. So keep that in mind. Alright. Sorry about that. As you can see so far, I've only cracked a couple of rocks and I'm already about half full. Um, but, I mean, you figure if you go out and buy a cutter, they're typically, what, about 45, 50 bucks? Maybe 60. And then you go out and buy a Geo. Now you're looking at about 100 bucks, 110 at most for both. And that's a good starting point. If you're into industrial play, that'll get you into mining. You'll be able to make a lot of money a lot faster. Because there is money to be made in gem mining. I mean, we always used to call it rock mining, but is it really now? Since you have another vehicle that'll do it. Some people have called it geo mining, but it's effectively the same thing as the rock. Obviously, it's a little different. As you can see from my just off to the left here, looking through the frame, you can see the ramp on the M2, and the fact that it is off the ground a little bit. Normally, that would give a rock fits, but of course, with the jump jets on the Geo, which you use by just hitting space, you can actually clear that with no problem. So you can get in and out of the ship quicker. If you really wanted to, you could actually hover your ship off the ground to prevent people getting into it when you leave it open. And then that way you could still get in and out with the Geo. I wouldn't leave it too high, just because it's kind of iffy on how fast it'll go up. Sometimes it seems like it works pretty well, sometimes it doesn't. Like any new ship, it'll have some bugs to be worked out. Alright, so we'll pick this up and that should fill us up. Yep, pretty close. Yep, there we go. Full. Took a second to register. Alright, so we'll need to go empty now. Got distracted for a second. Sorry about that. Alright. That big area on the back of the golem, that's one of the bags. So it does not have the typical ore bags or ore pods like the other ships do. This is almost more like a crate. The center of gravity on it is different. The center point on it is different. So it doesn't actually stick all the way down on the floor. It sticks about halfway. You do need to make sure that you only bring one of them up at a time if you're dealing with that, but I'll cover all of that when I cover the golem. But just a few quick tips for those, just in case somebody gets one and wants to play around with it before I bring it out. As you can see here, I'm having trouble finding how to unload it or open it, because I got those red lines on the side. For those of you that are watching, I'm actually voicing this over, so yes, at this point I do know how to get it out. But at the time I wasn't sure. And there is a button lower down on the back left that actually opens it, and also opens the holster where you can put a multi-tool. Alright, let's see. As you can see, looking around, and there it is, right there. That button right below there is the one for the multi-tool holster. I could not get it to open the inventory while it was still in there. It just gave me this. So it glitched out in that respect, because theoretically I should have been able to see the inventory of it, drag it over to my backpack, and then continue on. That did not work for me right away. But I was able to pull it out, so. What I probably should have done here was try setting it on the ground. But I didn't. I went ahead and put it in there because I have extras. So I figured even if I couldn't unload it, it would probably just be glitched, and I could fix it later. And then I'm going to try to Alright, so let's pick it back up and put it back in there and see if we can get it to work, see if it's still full. Theoretically, it should be empty now. Another little glitch that I've noticed is sometimes it will still show as full until you start picking up. Now keep in mind, this box that's in there right now is the one that came with it. And I did empty it from inside the container. So we'll see if I can get it to clear here. Just like its cousin, the Atlas, brother, whatever you want to call it, the original Atlas, it is not fast. Shift will actually make it move a little quicker, but still not enough to matter. We'll go ahead and get this done. See if this will let us pick up. Sorry, spring is in the air. That means my sinuses are going nuts. I should mention also, I think this thing actually has another slot. Put a module in. I'm not positive on that, so I'll have to check on that as well, but I think it does. Judging by the fact that it does say activate mining module and the help on the right. Actually, you know what? I think the left alt and 4 will actually change the power of the laser, if I remember right now. Maybe it doesn't have another slot. The more I think about it, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Left alt and 4 changes to the lower power setting, so you can actually do hand minables. Alright, so we'll go ahead and crack this rock and try, and maybe it's just because that stuff's under the ramp. Even though it is, it should have still cleared. So if this doesn't clear it to where I can pick up, then I'll need to change the box out for another one. See if I can get that working. Fortunately, it really doesn't take that long to crack these, so. And glaucosite is really stable, so it's really easy to crack. It just takes a little bit. Really do hope they actually have module slots for these, but I didn't think to look. Judging by the fact that the rock doesn't really have anything changeable, it didn't dawn on me to think about it. But the more I look at it, I've switched over into extraction mode, and the left alt and 4 went away. So I'm almost positive the left alt and 4 is actually to switch to the lower power setting. I'm not going to go looking for hang minables right now, so I'm not sure. But I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Alright, so we're going to have to change this out. There is the weapon slot, as they call it. I guess you could probably put a handgun there, but realistically, I think it's meant for a multi-tool. With, like, say, maybe a mining head or something. Although, why you need it when you have low power mode, I don't know, but whatever works. Heck, who knows? I guess you could throw a little salvage multi-tool in there. Do salvage with it, too. Alright, so it is empty, but it's not registering as such. So we'll go ahead and swap this out with another one. Well, actually, let's go ahead and try one more time. I'm not going to actually go out, but I want to see if it'll actually register since I opened it and verified there's nothing in it. Guessing, judging by the way it's looking right now, it's probably not going to clear. Yeah, so it's, I mean, it's still showing full. So let's go ahead and change it out. Get another one in there. Sorry about that. Sinus is draining. Alright, so we'll go ahead and put this one in there. And we'll grab another one. Carrying it from inside the crate doesn't seem to work, so I'm just going to drop it. We'll throw it in here and see if we can get it to work. Guess this will be a really short mining trip if it doesn't work. Again, long animations, but small price to pay for the convenience of being able to carry it in a smaller ship if you want. I mean, even with the ROC, you have the animation of getting in and out of the seat, so. Alright, so we're in extraction. Let's go ahead and try it, and that seems to have worked. Alright, so that emptied it out. So from now on, what I'll do is I'll take it out and set it on the ground and empty it. And theoretically, that should fix it. Hopefully, Sig fixes that, because it shouldn't be that much of a pain. Unless they're doing it just to force you to buy more boxes. I'm going to go with it's a bug. I really don't think they would do that, but you never know. Alright, so it looks like we got about 4 or 5 more rocks. So we'll go ahead and get these cracked. See if I run into the same issue when I change it out again. I will say I am kind of a proponent of mining in Stanton, but there is something to be said for mining over here in Pyro as well. Some of the views are really beautiful. Some of the surfaces are different. Obviously, there's going to be different things you can find over here that you can't find in Stanton. So I think a well-balanced industrial gameplay is going to be a little bit of both. Now, obviously, the same rules apply. When you're out looking for things to mine, don't stay near actual POIs, points of interest, like stations or landing areas. Stay out in the middle of nowhere. Mining wise, you can mine in the belt. You can actually mine in some of the asteroids in the system. There are plenty of them in Pyro. Whereas you were pretty much limited to like Lagrange stations in Stanton or the Aaron Halo. Here, you've got numerous asteroid bases that you can go to and then travel away from and start mining. You've got for instance, around Rune Station, there's an asteroid belt around the planet there. Sanctuary, I believe it is. So you go out about 150, 200 kilometers from the station, and you can mine there. Keep in mind, sometimes they do have NPCs that show up, and obviously you always have the possibility a player will. But again, it's a game where we'd like it to be PvE, but there is a PvP aspect to it. So, basically, you know, it's at your own risk. Don't start leaving comments about how you guys said you'd be safe in Pyro, because I never said any such thing. But I haven't really run into a lot of people attacking me in Pyro when I've been mining. But again, I follow the normal rules. Stay off the beaten path. Maybe make a little extra jump here and there to avoid taking a straight line path. Don't do it near stations or planets where you can be seen. Things like that. I mean, it's just common sense stuff, really. Alright, let's give this another shot. So obviously the inventory thing didn't work with this either, so we'll set it down on the ground and empty it. When I can get it to trigger properly. There we go. Maybe. Seems to be kind of picky about the floor in here. There we go. So apparently it's really picky about the floor. It's almost like I have to put it down where there's a cargo grid. Alright, so we'll transfer it to there. And then we'll go ahead and put that back. And then we'll store this in the crate. Now, obviously, since I'm in the M2, I went ahead and grabbed the 2 SCU. If you have a smaller ship, feel free to grab a 1. I mean, theoretically, you can even grab a 1/8 because it's like 250,000 SCU or CSCU. So it'll hold quite a few loads as well. And give you more room. I could foresee eventually, when the Arrastra comes out, actually carrying a couple of these in the Arrastra for rock mining, or gem mining. So basically, you can have a few people in there doing, you know, ship mining. Have a couple of these in there for people to use, because I would imagine if you can fit 2 rocks in one of those, you can probably fit 3 or 4 of these in there. So you could have a full crew running out of one ship, and then of course you've got the refining capabilities for the ship minables in it, so really looking forward to that. And then I know a lot of people will mine strictly for the money, but keep in mind that all the materials in the game right now are probably going to be used in crafting. So I've already started to get to the point where I get in the habit of collecting everything from a rock, so except for inert materials. But I mean, I've been picking up like aluminum, titanium, copper, and all of those things, just because I want to get in the habit of doing it. Will I make a lot of money off of it? Probably not until I have a lot of it. But it's still there. And it's still money. Alright, looks like we've got 3 more of these to go. Let's go ahead and get these cracked. Should theoretically be able to crack all 3 of these without having to empty again. Couple of things to keep in mind. The Geo, just like the ROC, is exposed. So if you're inside of it, you have to have a suit on. If you go to a planet that's very hot or very cold, you have to have the appropriate suit, either the Novikov or the... Oh shoot, what's the other one? Man, I'm having a brain fart right now. So the Novikov or the... As soon as I'm done with the video, I'll think of it. But just keep that in mind. You do have to dress appropriately for the environment. Now, with that being said, currently you can get in the A.T.L.S with your full gear, backpack, guns, the whole works. So, there's that as well. Now, whether or not they're going to change that later, I don't know. There was talk about making it so you couldn't fly in like heavy armor with a backpack on, or you'd have to take your backpack off to fly. So that'll be something to keep in mind as well. Alright, 1 more to go. Obviously, none of these are really big. It's rock mining after all. You're just doing it with a different vehicle. So all the same rules still apply. Hadanite, dolomine, all that stuff will still be the stuff you mine, or if you come over here, any of the new materials, Same thing with the golem. Anything that you would mine with a prospector, you could mine with a golem. That'll be really interesting when I start going over that, because it doesn't have a replaceable laser, but it is a pretty powerful laser for a ship that size, considering it's equivalent to a helix, just with different bonuses and negatives. Alright, not going to worry about that, we're full anyway. Alright, let's go ahead and get this unloaded and stowed. Basically do the same thing I did before, but we're going to go ahead and close the ship first. Just because there's no point leaving it open if we're done out there. Alright. Sorry about that. Got a little low. Got a little far away from the mic. Alright, so we'll set it down here. We'll get it unloaded. Basically, just hold F, and it'll bring up that menu. Let's see. Got too much in there, so we'll take that and put it on the backpack. So it looks like we got roughly about, what, 320 or so. Put that back where it was. Go ahead and replace this in there. And then we'll go ahead and park this back along the side where it's out of the way. Alright, so that is the A.T.L.S Geo. Seems to be a good all-around little vehicle for rock mining type industrial play. And apparently I can't use my ladder now. Nice. Okay, anyway. Fortunately, we got an elevator. Like I said, at some point I'll do one on the golem as well. That's going to be it for this episode, I think. If you have any questions, concerns, additional information you want to share to people, that's fine. Just go ahead and leave it in the comments. Other than that, I'm happy I was able to get some mining done finally. And with that being said, have a nice day, and we'll see you next time.